Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about placing races within your annual plan. But before we do that, I want to start with the punchline. Racing well is difficult enough when you do it correctly. And what I mean by that is you don't need to go out of your way to make it a challenge to do an endurance-focused race. So try and stack the deck in your favor. And let's start by thinking back to how the last year went and maybe the year before that, because most of us are going to have patterns, times of the year where the training is relatively easy in our schedules and our performance is relatively good. Now, in my case, it's an end of summer peak. That's happened for me consistently year in, year out, even when I'm not racing. Now, other athletes have early season peaks. Don't fight the natural tendency that you have noticed in yourself. Likewise, don't fight the conditions that you have wherever you live. If you happen to have a climate that is ridiculously hot and humid across August, don't aim for an early September peak unless you're planning on going away to train for it. So, as well, think about where this coming year fits in your overall development. Myself, 2 videos ago, knowing exactly what you want, I shared with you my desire to have a multi-year progression towards a very fast race in that 4 to 9 hour duration. Now, that means that this coming year is not necessarily an A priority year. It's a year where training is going to come in front of racing. I'll do events, but most of my events are going to be C priority events. They're events that I don't necessarily want to interrupt my compounding and my general capacity training. So that's important to bear in mind too. Assess yourself as an athlete in terms of where this year is going to fit in with your ultimate development, these ultimate goals that you want to get to yourself. Because it's easy to be traveling a whole bunch and chasing races all around the world and not really achieve much in terms of your development. And unfortunately, you'll see that with some very talented athletes that are on the elite circuit where they're trying to be fit and fast from March to November. And some of them just completely break down. And the year, if you look at what they achieve in the year, not a whole lot. They never really got fit. They never really got fast compared to their prior selves. And so you really need to be mature with how you're using the races. So thinking about the year that we've been kind of using for myself as a case study, I now have some events that I've put in. So we're going to shrink me down, move me over. So the first thing that's going to happen is to get ready for an event. I like to back out training camps, either C priority events, but I find for me, being a volume responder, training camps are much more effective than, if you like, training races or low priority races. So in April, last week of April, going to head out to the desert, do a bike focused balanced week where I lift my volume. And that's really just about getting the bike volume in. I know it's worked well for me in the past. I'm just going to do that. My wife's going to come with me and she's going to do a swim focused week. Then kids get out of school and we have a window of time as a family before their summer swim league starts. Take advantage of the family schedule. My son and I are going to head over to Europe. Again, another bike focused camp, this time ending with a race in early June. And we did that race, my son and I, last year. He had a great time. I had a little less of a great time sporting an injury, and I'd like to go back and do better at that race. So if you like, that phase of a volume buildup, 2 training camps finished with a shorter race, that'll end the first part of my season. And then hopefully I'm going to be healthy and feeling good. I'm going to let myself come down from that. So that'll end the first block of my year. And then across July and August, I've got some interesting things planned. Another training camp in July, and that training camp ends with a race. But again, thinking in terms of multi-year time horizons, I don't really want to peak per se for that race. I know I'm unlikely to be at a peak after I've done a huge week of cycling because I haven't done it in about 10 years. I haven't tried to race at the end of a bike focused camp. And it's just not going to fit in that way. But I view it as a big block of training. But what I do know is that when I come back home, absorb that training, I will be ready to race. And I'm giving myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 weeks between the end of that camp. So if I get it right, I can have 2 solid blocks, shorter blocks of a little bit of specific prep training to get myself ready for this swim run race that I'm going to do in mid-September. And that'll be my year. I know that end of September works well for me. Kids are back in school then. I can travel and it'll just fit right in. So I hope that gives you some ideas about setting up your season for next year.